Always blown away by this guy. Our next guest, someone whose impact with the Arizona Cardinals goes far beyond what he does on Sundays. The offensive lineman, Kelvin Beachum. He's been named the Cardinals nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, recognition that highlights works the players do in their communities, not just on the field, but off of it. Education, initiatives, advocacy, service. Kelvin has been consistently using his platform to create real change. We are excited, Kelvin. We appreciate you to take your time here with us in the final week of the season. Congratulations on the nominations, my man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's truly an honor. I'm excited to represent the Arizona Cardinals in front of the entire National Football League here in a couple of weeks at NFL Honors.
Kelvin, we know the season hasn't gone the way that anybody thought. It's been a difficult one, to say the least. But I think your presence on the team, especially, it allows maybe younger players some perspective. What is some of the messaging, if any, that you've given so many young players? Because this is a young roster with a lot of draft picks. What have you told some of your peers getting through this season, and how have you been able to make it to the finish line?
The first thing that I always just impress upon young people is the first rule of getting better is showing up. So even in a situation like we have right now, you have to find a way to show up. And it's not just showing up on Sundays. That's what you're required to do. But what it looks like is, what does it look like to show up on Mondays after your body's been beat up on Sunday? You're going into the weight room. What does it look like on Tuesdays when it's your quote unquote off day, but you're finding time to get into the building and find time to get extra work? What does it look like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? So what does showing up actually look like? And what does your process look like? And are you able to sustain that process from week 1 all the way up until week 17, week 18, and sometimes into January? And I think when you can be able to build those type of competencies as a young player, it really bodes well over the long-term horizon of your career, no matter how short or how long it may be. But the first rule of getting better is showing up. So making sure you're showing up consistently, and then making sure that you have a process that you can be able to maintain throughout the entire year. So you can always have something to go back to and lean on, whether you're, winning 2 straight or winning 3 straight or losing, how many we lost to date. But no matter where you're at on the spectrum, you have a process in which you can go back to on a consistent basis.
You've certainly got some competition on your team as far as the philanthropic endeavors that you are so active in. I mean, Paris Johnson Jr. in his 3rd season has done so many things. Obviously, he had his foundation just coming into the league. You guys teamed up with this World Vision partnership. Trey McBride was the nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for the team last year. Even going beyond this iteration of the team, Larry Fitzgerald's well known. Calais Campbell comes back into the fold with his own foundation. But it's just got to seem that how is it to be kind of shoulder to shoulder with all these guys that not only do it in a big way, keeping their process locked in between the walls of the facility on the gridiron, but also off the field in the community?
It's great because you have people to collaborate with. I've done community work with Larry over the years. I've been on the same stage with Calais Campbell at the national stage, or whether within the NFLPA in the union. Trey McBride is a tight end. He's one of us as an offensive lineman, so we're always finding things to do with him. And Paris is a young and upcoming talent, and he's going to be the franchise player, or one of the franchise players for this organization over the next 7 to 10 years. So being able to do work with him, especially early on in his career, is something that I get more value out of than I think he does. But, it's one of those things where this is a collection of men within this locker room that really care about the community. And we get to learn with each other, not learning from each other, but learning with each other. So we get to do life together in this particular perspective, and really excited about the group that I get to learn from on a consistent basis.
Kelvin, in a season like this, you try to find some silver linings where you can, if you can. And I thought this past week, somebody like Isaiah Adams played exceptionally well. Actually, since his reinsertion into the lineup, he's played well. What can you tell our audience about the second-year guard out of Illinois who, lost some time earlier this year, came back into the lineup, and has really made a name for himself, alongside that O-line with you?
Yeah, I think he's doing a really good job of just, kind of owning the fundamentals. He's not trying to play outside of himself. He's not trying to press too much. He's letting the game come to him, which is, I think, how you start to mature as a young player. Just allow the game to come to you. And when you have an opportunity to make your plays, you make your plays. And he's done a really good job in that regard. He's limited the mistakes, and some of those are just young mistakes. But he's limited those and really has found a way to play the game the way it needs to be played, which is play physical, especially there at guard. And then when he has opportunity to go downfield and make plays, he's done a really good job in that regard. So I think the staff has done a really good job of allowing him to go through some of those growing pains, which he had early on in the year. And now he's really starting to be the player that I think we all knew that he was capable of being, especially considering, how he came out of training camp. I mean, it was one of the best training camps for a young player that I've seen in a while. So I was really impressed with what he was doing during training camp, and just wasn't able to get it going early on in the season. But I think he's really started to turn the tide over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that we identified during the late summer when you guys were about to start the regular season. We thought Isaiah Adams was just going to parlay, his late starting stint the end of last season and to just becoming an established guard for this team going forward. It just looked a little bit different, didn't it, Kelvin? I mean, it's just something he had to kind of come back, and he's done really well, as Johnny outlined and as you outlined so well. Your partnership with World Vision, it's pretty incredible. The toy and backpack distribution and partnership with World Vision in Phoenix.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to do that right before the holiday season got upon us. Did it in collaboration with the Dream Center there in South Phoenix. Been working with World Vision for a number of years. I'm a huge proponent. If you're going to do anything on a global scale, you got to make sure you're taking care of things at home. So I wanted to find a way to be sure to invest in the community right here in Phoenix, and have the opportunity to do that in collaboration with World Vision.
I got to ask you, of course, we talked about Larry Fitzgerald, Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's now a finalist, final 15 for the NFL Hall of Fame class in 2026. I mean, what is it like to see Fitz likely enshrined in Canton as early as this year?
I'm excited for him. I know it's a long time coming. Would have loved for him to be able to go out in style. But that's just sometimes how the ball rolls sometimes. But he is well deserving of that opportunity. Saw that he was a finalist this morning. Excited for what's to come. I know that we'll find more out here in the coming weeks regarding whether he gets in or not. I don't know many players that have had the type of career that he's had. The durability, the performance, the lack of drops that he had within his career. I know that is a staggering statistic. He had more tackles than he had drops in his NFL career. He's a special player, but I think even more than that, he's a special individual. He's a special person, extremely thoughtful, and somebody that really cares for people, and people from all different walks of life. World traveler, risk taker. He's one of the best out there.
Beach, what's your mindset going in, starting tomorrow, kind of the final week of preparation for this season? And then where do you stand? Like, have you made any decisions about your future?
I have not. I was just getting ready for this interview before, and had that same question that popped up, because I know, especially as we get ready to finish the year off, there are questions that will start to arise and questions that will happen in the locker room that will get asked. And I'm just not ready to have that conversation yet. I really want to focus on this week. I literally have it on my board right here in front of me. Go 1-0 this week. Be the best version of yourself. That's really all I care about at this moment is being the best version of myself. The same thing that I talk about to young players is showing up and it's having a process. Yesterday, I got on the massage table right after practice at 1:00, like I've done every single Monday this year. I got my stretch therapist that'll be here on Wednesday at 6:45, like he does every single week. I see my masseuse on Friday at 1:00 right after practice, like I always do. For me, the process stays the same. And for me, I will do that, and then we'll play the game. Hopefully we can find a way to turn the tide, at least as we get ready to go into the off season, and then reassess things from there. But I gotta talk to God. I gotta talk to my wife. Got to talk to my kids. I got to talk to my staff, and kind of the vendors that I have that work with me and keep this body where it needs to be ready and capable to play on Sundays. And then we'll make a decision and see what the Cardinals have in store, or if there are other takers that are open to my services.
I know I speak for Cardinal Nation. We'd love to have you back in any capacity, Beach. I do want to ask you about your head coach, Jonathan Gannon. A lot's being made about how this season has gone. And with that comes, just questions about job security. Your overall assessment, because you played for a lot of head coaches in the NFL, a lot of winning head coaches. Why is Jonathan Gannon the right fit to lead this franchise into 2026, in your opinion?
I think at the end of the day, and I told him this not so long ago, but from a culture standpoint, and I know results don't always lend itself to what culture really looks like. But considering where we're at as a team right now, considering the roster that we have at the moment, considering how many people on the roster are on IR, he's kept his culture intact. There's been no quit. There's been no ill will. There's been no shows and people not coming to lifts and people not showing up to meetings and people being disrespectful of just the love of the game. He's done a really good job of making sure that the culture has stayed intact. And I think, considering where we are, he's the right man for the job. The thing is, we got to find a way to make sure that we have the pieces that are necessary to win games. At the end of the day, this is a quarterback-driven league. You got to have an offense that can put up points. You got to have a defense that can stop folks. And we just haven't done that consistently enough throughout the year to put ourselves in a winning situation. So, it's both players and coaches. It's not just one person that you look to. And I know the buck starts at the top and then it rolls down, crap rolls downhill. I get that. But at the same time, I think, JG has done a really good job of putting us in a situation to be successful. And I think it's more ownership that needs to be put on the players than just one individual. When you look at the totality of the season, it's a team game. It's a team game, from top to bottom from an organizational standpoint. So it's not just one person that you look at as the reason why the season is what it is. I think you have to look at things in totality, be able to assess things and see, based off of where we're at right now, is this the right person? And I would say he's the right person for the job.
Well said by Kelvin Beachum there. And before we get out of here, for those watching, those consuming this via podcast or watching it on YouTube live, how can somebody step up like Kelvin Beachum does on a daily basis and really try to inspire and create meaningful change? What are you working on, and how can people help you?
Man, the thing is, I always, just impress upon people to win and find a way to serve where you're at, no matter what that looks like. And it looks different for everybody. The platform that I have, I'm able to impact things at a much broader scale, but I didn't always have this platform. So in Mahia, I found ways to serve in my local church. At SMU, I found a way to serve student athletes. In Pittsburgh, I found a way to serve at the Pittsburgh Food Bank. In Jacksonville, it was a Northeast Florida Food Bank. In New York, it was a New York Food Bank. In Arizona's been United Food Bank. You find a place to serve wherever you happen to be at. So I think some people think it has to be this grandiose type of ordeal that somebody has to embark upon. Just take the time to go and serve wherever you happen to be at. Whatever your passion area happens to be. But for me, it always starts at a food bank. That's where I always end up volunteering and taking my kids to go and volunteer. But for me, it starts at a food bank, and then it starts to broaden out from there.
Like
Kelvin,
I said,
thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo my co-host comments there. We really appreciate you taking some time sharing your story with us. Like we said, we're blown away by your impact on the community, and we're rooting for you as far as this nomination. Congratulations so much on that. And, further success as far as if you choose to play on after this season, and of course, what you're doing off the field, Kelvin.
Yes, sir. Really appreciate you both. Thanks so much for making time.